Good early morning on Tuesday, peoples. Let's jump in here to your favorite subject. I'm going to teach chemistry. I've got the periodic table of the elements. Who memorized at least the first 20 elements? Oh, this isn't chemistry class. Hopefully, none of you really had to do that. Depends on the teacher you had, probably. All right, guys. The only reason this is up is I'm talking about mining opportunities, and the subject is rare earth metals. So I thought I'd show a periodic table. Most of you, anyone who took chemistry probably had it, and then later in physics, but it's more known for chemistry. I'm only showing it as a reference point because, it starts out with, let me define rare earth metals without getting, deep here. What are rare earth metals? Well, the term rare earth elements are used to describe a cluster of 17 elements, which include scandium, yttrium. Look, my pronunciation is not going to be accurate on these, so don't write in laughing at me, right? Now, how many really know these? You may have taken chemistry and learned, but you probably didn't focus on these. Um, so anyway, the rare earth is involved in these two, right? What I said, scandium and yttrium, spelled Yttrium, and then all 15 of the lanthanide elements, lanthanide elements, okay? So other than scandium, all rare earths, okay, one of the first ones up here, other than scandium, all rare earths, I lost my train of thought, can be divided into light and heavy categories based on their atomic weight. So heavy rare earths are generally more sought after, but light rare earth elements can, of course, also be important. So let's jump into light rare earth elements, okay? I'm just gonna give you a little more education for a minute or two, leave this periodic table up here, and then jump into some mining opportunities. But without a definition, all of a sudden people, and listen, there's one more thing. Things like copper and nickel are important, but they're not really considered rare earth elements, right? When you're talking REE, rare earth element, you're talking about the Chinese hoarding a large percent. I'm going to show you a chart of where is the known quantity on the planet of the rare earths, although India made a big discovery and one of the Baltic countries, they got a big discovery. But in general, where we know how many metric millions of tons exist. Okay. So all but two of the rare earth elements, scandium and yttrium, are part of a chemical group called lanthanides, and light rare earths are the lanthanides with the lowest atomic numbers. Okay, all these down here. The light rare earth metals, okay, of them, neodymium, neodymium, neodymium is considered one of the most critical. It is used in everything from mobile phones and electric cars to medical equipment. Okay. This neodymium is also the main light rare earth used in the creation of permanent magnets, which are heavily used in many things, but some of them would be data storage systems, wind turbines, and then you have praseodymium, praseodymium, is another significant light rare earth metal. It's also used in alloys with magnesium to form aircraft engines, and also finds use in the film industry for studio lighting and other projects. This whole magnet topic is because most of these rare earth elements have magnetic capabilities. And depending on the temperature and the commingling of them, you create really strong magnets. So those strong magnets, as you can imagine, would be used in electric vehicles also, all of the things we read before, electric motors, wind turbines, medical equipment. So they're crucial for these various high-tech applications. So rounding it out, what are heavy rare earth elements as opposed to light rare earth elements? Well, the heavy rare earth metals are defined by their higher atomic weights relative to light rare earth. They are less common, and some elements within the group are facing shortages as demand outpaces supply. That typically makes them more valuable than light rare earths. Also, they but they also have smaller markets. The full list of heavy rare earth elements is dis I won't even read this. The yttrium that we talked about, there's like 8 of them. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce them because I do a horrible job on that, guys. Most of them end in IUM, so if you're good at saying the lutrium, yttrium, yttrium, thulium, right? Heavy rare earth elements are crucial, again, for producing high performance permanent magnets, right? You can magnetize something, but when you have a super strong sort of permanent magnet, very valuable in different technologies, electric vehicles, wind turbines, we talked about it, nuclear reactors, medical devices, defense technologies, right, due to their unique properties. So warfare, in essence, is dependent on at least the modern age of warfare. Although, when discussing this subject in a mining context, let's talk, because that's what I'm evolving to, right? Element 61, or promethium, isn't mentioned. And there is never more than 550 grams of it naturally in the Earth's crust due to its absurdly high levels of radioactivity, which means it has a half-life of 2.62 years. So always have something dangerous when you have a lot of positive, right? The other 16 rare earth elements are rare, but guys, not in the way you might ordinarily think. Their abundance in the Earth's crust, I find this interesting. Their abundance in the Earth's crust ranges by element, going from 0.49 to 66 parts per million. So big range, okay? Meaning the most common element is more abundant than copper, which is not thought of being rare, while the rarest element, thulium, thulium, is 6.5 times more common than silver. Yet, unlike silver and the vast majority of stable elements in the periodic table, rare earth elements almost, this is key, never cluster together in abundance large enough, which makes them economically viable to mine. Instead, due to their geochemical properties, such as having a high ionic charge, they are considered as incompatible elements and thus tend to exist almost uniformly in non-economic qualities throughout every rock. So now we start to get to the crux of the rarity. All right, guys, so let's talk things that you'd be interested in. Even I enjoy it more. All right, so people ask me, well, Bruce, what about, MP materials? Well, guys, that thing's blown up in the last, as anyone who's looked at it, 207%, 200, almost 208% in the last 6 months. So the issue there, it's a U.S. company, so I have here the location, U.S., Australia, South Africa, Canada, and then I have one in Brazil. Very small company. This last one. It has an OTC ticker, but you can't get much. It's spotty. It doesn't even trade for many days. That's the problem. Even sometimes in a Canadian miner. So you really have to look at that kind of. And what's happening is the government is getting involved. They did it under the Biden administration. We're doing it under the Trump administration. They're going out and providing capital to the mining ground that have identified some of these rare earths and say, hey, here's your pathway to production. We're going to speed it up. And here's money to assist you. The US government will invest in your mining company because we need those rare earths. So that is a big part of driving things like MP materials. And I could do a deeper dive. This is to show you the names, allow you to go out and do some due diligence. You can look at the charts. I'm not going to dive too heavy today, um, but I thought it was important to just show you that. Let me do a sort here. Let's sort on 1 month, right? So we got our highest performer in 1 month, 47, Ucore Rare Metals up in Canada. We got an Australian one. 47, 46, what's 37? A US company, not Niocorp, right? Ticker NB. Back to Canada, Aclara. I mean, these are nice returns, and this is right up to date, right? So how about a 3 month? Well, 3 month you get the price. How about a 3 month return? So anytime you see a big return, well, how's it done over time? Well, it's done 47% in 1 month, 86% in 3 months, and 128% in 6 months. Most of these don't go out a lot longer than that. Some of the companies you start to get NAs even at the 6 month. Now some of them do, but I just felt it was relevant to do. These are strategic, right? And play with them with your own risk. Again, if something goes up tenfold, it's likely to pull back 5x. But if you buy it at the high of 10x and it pulls back to 5x, you know, it takes you a long time to get back to even potentially. I put one on here. This one's fascinating. I own Energy Fuels. I own it two ways. I own it through URA and URNM, which are ETFs for the uranium. And I noticed, I read an article a couple weeks ago that it had a rare earth element find on its mining ground, right? Which is wonderful. So now they're probably not even really trading at the value of that rare earth. You know, most of they're known for being in the uranium space for digging out yellow cake. So you've seen this one blow up as well. Now, not as much on the 1 month gain, but look at the difference here in the 3 month and the 1 month. So all you got to do is go out and look. I've always liked easy, simple guys in the U.S. You, and I will say to you all if you've had anything to do with uranium miners and even spot uranium, very volatile. But when this thing starts to move, as it has a couple of times in this particular commodity bull run, it can really go up, but it can also go down. Defiance had a URAX. I never bought it. It was 2x uranium. It went out of business. They shut it down because it had massive NAV decline because you caught that cycle. Now I own some URA and some URM. I was so far ahead when it pulled back massively. I just said, look, I want to own it. I don't have time to write options and do that because I had written a lot of options on the URNM. It also pays a dividend. I think URA pays twice a year and URM typically pays once a year. There was a year they didn't pay at all because it was performing poorly with the underlying miners. So I always think it's better to own an ETF, but when you do your homework and your due diligence, there's 3 or 4 uranium. But I don't want to get too far off on uranium, but this is what happens. It's just like a regular miner finds something in the rare earths, right? They're not going to find all the rare earths, but they may find some. And it's just you know one of I think it now I can't remember who it was. One of my junior miners was a silver miner, has 120 million ounces identified in the ground. Just had a huge manganese, right, which is used in battery metals and all kinds of needed industries. And it's not even being valued on the manganese at the moment. I imagine it will. So I need to go back and remember who that was. And when you start, I've got 750 miners in my sheet now. I call it a database because I can sort and filter and do so much stuff with it. It's getting very big. USA, rare earth. So let's sort it on our 3-month gain. Let's see who pops to the top there. And again, these, when you don't have a value, going back this time frame, look at this. This has got a current price, right? I mean, using the U.S. symbol, I guess I could look up a UK symbol and put LON and then the symbol, but I did find an OTC. But that's the problem. You get like a current price, but you don't have a lot. Spotty trading. It's just thinly traded. So you really wouldn't want to buy that until it starts to have volume. But 207% on MP materials. Certainly something to potentially own. Just be careful going into it when you see it pulling back. But it's blown up because it's basically being funded with the aid of the U.S., and it's one of the largest and go-to providers of rare earths. What was it at? So here we were 6 months ago, it was 23.45. It's now $72. 1 month ago, it was 63. 3 months ago, oh, does that make sense? Yeah, it must have gone down here. If that's the 3-month price, wow. But I should have 90 being taken off there. Sometimes I have to move them around to get a price when it's a thinly traded. Yeah, that's more. Yeah, so that means that it went down from the 6-month program to the 3-month and then just took off. This is probably when the U.S. announced that they were going to, the Treasury said, we're going to invest in them. I'm not sure. I don't have the data right in front of me. But this is an interesting category, guys. Brazil, very large rare earths, but they only listed in Brazil, the symbol, right? Nothing in the rest of the world. And then Kazakhstan, huge discovery. But they haven't even sorted that all. Will they mine it? I'm sure they will over time. If you know anything about uranium, they've had Prom, can't close enough. Um, a big mining company for uranium, but that's kind of fallen off. They've lost a lot of their middle management. And to me, Cameco, CCJ, is kind of the king of North America now and sort of the go-to mining company that looks, now they're very large already. So some of the smaller guys have more upside in the uranium, but I'll stick to my REEs here. So, top countries for rare earths. Anybody in rare earths knows that China's dominated this market. And what's made it bad is they've realized how strategic these metals are. So they basically cut off the rest of the world. Now, the U.S. has negotiated a little bit with Trump's tariffs to at least get some of them in exchange for their access to, the latest chips and some of that. Brazil, number two, 21 million metric tons, guys. So about half the size of China. India, I mentioned India. India had a big discovery. That really put them on the map. Australia, they're a big mining country anyhow, 5.7. Russia, 3.8. Vietnam, now this one surprised me, 3.5. USA. We typically find these Idaho, Nevada, Wyoming, in our mining space in general, where you get the Greenland. Maybe that's why Trump wanted it. I don't know. 1.5. All right, guys, that's what I got for you. I don't think there's anything else in here to tell you. I'm going to put this on my YouTube channel and then I'll put it out on my Patreon. And we'll go from there. Hit me up with comments, questions. Thanks to all my subscribers on the YouTube channel and all you guys commenting. We're doing good. I'm going to keep up the efforts here, working both the Patreon and the channel. All right, guys. Bye for now. This is not financial advice, and I'm not a financial advisor. Bye for now.